Hey, what's happening, gamers? How's everybody doing? So Riddler stuff is a little bit earlier today because Amber and I were going out to dinner with my parents, who came all the way from the Albany area to see us before Christmas. So we're gonna continue with the Riddler stuff. Whoa! How did the Christmas light end up like that? I'll fix it later. It probably won't fall. Probably. The star is about to fall over. I'll get it later. Probably Link's doing when he smacked into the Christmas tree. Link! Linky! That's a good boy. Alright. Yep, if you guys could run the shorts playlist in the background, that'd be fantastic. So, Batman is earlier tonight because we won't be here later this evening. You guys will have some YouTube shorts to deal with. And then I'll be back probably to do another Riddler stream in place of solo leveling, like around 9 o'clock, I'd say. I don't know how... did you turn the star on? Because I didn't. It just randomly turned on? Weird. That is weird.
I can't even reach it anyways. That's weird.
Officer Judas from Scarecrow's pointy clutches? He'll just be
No. So, one of the things that I hate the most about fake Batman fans is everybody always mentions the... they always make the same argument on Twitter. Like, the scene in question is Deadshot being apprehended by Batman in the Suicide Squad. And tourists are like, it's so out of character. Batman wouldn't do this in front of the child. And it's like, hello, McFly. Old wounds. Batman the Animated Series Season 4. Batman confronts a lookout, not a goon, a lookout. That his whole job is to drive the vehicle and just let Joker know when the police are coming. He is a bottom feeder nobody. Batman bursts into his house, beats the snot out of him in front of his wife and child. His child raises a ray gun at Batman, and Batman glares at the kid. Robin comes in, and he's trying to defuse the situation, like saying, hey, don't do this in front of their family, man. And Batman's like, the sooner he talks, the sooner he leaves, and he keeps interrogating the guy. You know? Now, that was a catalyst to show the difference between Batman and Robin's crime-fighting methods, mainly Bruce's and Dick Grayson. But Batman is a brutal, unhinged, you know, no-tact kind of guy. That's the point of his character. He's a flawed, broken, ruthless, brutal character. Whereas Robin is the opposite of him. He's a bright, optimistic, caring. While Batman does show compassion, Batman will do whatever it takes to get the mission done. Regardless of he's going to jump you in front of your family, he doesn't care. He cares about whether or not he gets the job done. So with the Deadshot thing, the reason why Batman even goes after Deadshot in the Suicide Squad, Deadshot just killed a bunch of people for money. Batman found him and deduced that the easiest way to take him down would be it in front of his little girl. That way it would be the least amount of resistance. He figured that because the daughter is there, that Deadshot would not, you know, retaliate. That he would just come quietly. You know, Batman was using psychological warfare, because that's what he does. So, you know, Will Smith's character endangered his own daughter by shooting at Batman. Because Batman miscalculated. He was like, oh, you know, I'm just going to drop in, take this guy in, be easy. You know, he was a little bit full of himself because, remember, this is the Ben Affleck Batman. He is broken. He is not thinking clear anymore about, like, repercussions or endangering innocents. He doesn't care about that anymore. He cares about taking care of a maniac that's on the streets killing people, regardless of if there's, like, innocent crossfire. But he didn't potentially try to endanger the little girl. The father shot at Batman with the little girl right there, not even thinking that his daughter could be caught in the crosshairs, because all he could think about was fighting Batman. It's not until the little girl actually steps in front of Deadshot that he's like, you know what? I give up. If the little girl hadn't stepped in front of her dad, who was, you know, had his piece drawn, then he would have kept shooting at Batman and probably hurt innocent people. Because obviously he didn't want to go to jail. But to have the audacity to go online and say, oh, this is out of character for Batman, it's like, no, that's on character for Batman the Animated Series from 30 years ago. That's on brand with the 70s and 80s Batman comic books from the 1970s through the 1980s. That's on brand with the Arkham games. That's on brand with Keaton and all the other Batmen. The only Batman that it is not on brand with is the weak, boring, new version of Batman that's in the current run of DC Comics for the past 4 or 5 years. Because that Batman is a pushover. He's very sympathetic. He's too compassionate. He doesn't do his job. He doesn't apprehend, like, people who break minor, or not even minor laws. He doesn't apprehend people who riot. He doesn't apprehend people who break into stuff. He goes and beats up police officers. He does everything but be Batman. He monologues and, you know, finger wags the audience. There's a word to describe him, but I don't want to say it because it would insult women. No, it starts with something else. But he is a very, very different version of Batman. Nothing like the version of Batman a lot of us have been accustomed to. Not that I've been around for 50 years, mind you, but I've been reading Batman comics from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. So I am very accustomed with the Bronze Age DC, which is the 1970s. And the 1970s Batman did just that.
If you don't have the guts to uphold the law, then you are a coward, Bill.
There's 2 ways we can do this.
So that kind of stuff bothers me, though. I hate seeing people, and they get like so many likes and retweets for stupid opinions that they know nothing about Batman. They're just a bunch of tourists masquerading. I especially love when these people have like Daredevil like thumbnails or, you know, Marvel icons, and just like they're acting like they're experts on a character they know nothing about. You know, because they've seen the Matt Reeves Batman, which Matt Reeves Batman is kind of unhinged, but they make him a lot weaker in comparison to, say, Ben Affleck or some of the other ones, and they're like, oh, this is peak Batman. But then you show them the animated series, and then they have the audacity to say, well, they had a misunderstanding of Batman. It's like, Batman the Animated Series was written by people who were very talented, and they did adaptations of some of the best Batman comics in existence, which were the Bronze Age 1970s Batman. Most Batman movies for the past 30 or 40 years have taken storylines from the 1970s. Almost the entirety of Batman the Animated Series, which everybody calls peak Batman, is from the 70s. There's only a few stories that they did adaptations from the Batman the Animated Series that were from the 90s and the 80s. There's very few stories. Most of the comics that Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, Alan, and all those other people did, they were doing their own interpretations from 1970s Bat stories featuring Man-Bat, Ra's al Ghul, the Dude Who Could Turn Invisible, the Clock King, Killer Croc, all those characters. Mad Hatter. Like, if people really want to get a good understanding of the character of Batman, then you need to actually educate yourself on the Bronze Age of DC, because that's when all the good detective stories were written. That's what inspired people like Chuck Dixon. That's what inspired people like Judd Winnick. That's what inspired people like Jim Lee. You know? All those people. Like, they grew up reading those Batman stories, and then they did their own, you know, kind of flair with it. Now, people like Tom King and like some of the newer guys, Chip Zdarsky or whatever, they didn't grow up with the 70s Batman. They grew up with Chuck Dixon stuff, which is evident, but also at the same time, they've completely gone past that stuff. Like, they don't even really pay attention to, like, the Detective Comics run of Chuck Dixon, which actually was very dark. Actually, it was incredibly dark. What I liked about the 70s nuance is, yes, the storytelling was a little bit kind of like thrillers, but it didn't get, like, too intense. Whereas Chuck Dixon's, like, Detective Comics run, he dealt with a lot of, like, serial killers and, you know, viruses and plagues, and he went all in with, like, trying to scare the audience as much as possible, whereas Batman in the 70s was going after, like, a guy who maybe, like, stabbed 3 or 4 people and he's trying to find them, or, you know, local, like, neighborhood shooting and Batman's trying to apprehend the guy, kidnapping, that kind of stuff. Like, Chuck Dixon's stuff was, like, global scale. Like, crazy. Which, I mean, that's the kind of stuff he wanted to write. He wanted to write more expansive, intense stuff, whereas what I liked about the 70s Batman is it was more personal stories with Batman who did struggle. Like, he was a character in those stories who got beat up sometimes. He made mistakes. People died that he tried to save. It made him appear more human, which was a good thing. But I cannot stand these people on Twitter that they have all these, like... It's not just a hot take, it's a stupid take. It's ignorant, right. Uneducated ignorance. I hate that.
Chooses to dress like a bat unless you got a few screws loose.
And I see this kind of crap on Twitter, like, all the time. You know, it's like, the reason why a lot of people... I'm going to blow your mind. The reason why a lot of people don't like Zack Snyder's director, it's not just he killed Robin. It's the fact that the guy is a, like, professing Catholic. So the reason why most of these, like, dregs of society on Twitter, and, you know, comic book Twitter, the reason why they talk down about Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder's Batman and stuff is because both Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck are Catholic. That's the only reason.
Yeah, that probably is true.
They don't like them because they don't like their religion. It's all that is to it. It's not that, oh, Batman's too dark. Most of these people grew up with the animated series and play the Arkham games. Miss me with that nonsense. The reason why they get so mad in particular about Zack Snyder saying, oh, he didn't know anything about Batman and Ben Affleck didn't know anything, it's like they don't want to come out and say, oh, I don't like this person because they're Christian.
That's why they're not that's what they crossing.
Yeah, I'm just, what the heck is going on here?
And they do the same thing about the other guy.
I've never seen this many enemies just randomly running around.
They act like Switch Arkham was not. And that's only because he's a Christian they say that. They're trying to say it's a global
Because think about it, every other Batman has done crazy stuff on the internet. Like, Michael Keaton's Batman literally kills people and smiles all the time. But what Batman are they always making fun of on Twitter? It's always Ben Affleck's Batman. And it's not the stuff that is to be ridiculed, like, you know, the Martha scene, which is hilarious. No, they make fun of the warehouse scene. They make fun of the Deadshot thing. They make fun of him beating up Harley Quinn underwater. They make fun of the Zack Snyder's Justice League Batman. Not the Josh Whedon one. Josh Whedon should be the one that's ridiculed the most. No, they're always throwing Zack under the bus. Why? Well, it's because he's Catholic. It's the only reason. They don't like him. Every project he does, they hate the guy. Now, most of these accounts, too, it's interesting to note that a lot of them are atheists and agnostic. And they have, like, you know, things in the bio that are just screaming, you know, crazy person. It's all on brand for these people.
You and me, we're gonna talk about Riddler.
Does the Switch 2 improve the Arkham Knight performance? Yes.
You're too kind.
Oh, of course Zack Snyder's religious. Look at his cinematography for Superman. He made Superman kind of like Jesus. Which I don't really like that. But he even, you know, it's very obvious that he was doing some type of allegory when he created Superman, which I don't know if Cavill was okay with or not, because Cavill's an atheist. Cavill's a nice atheist, but he's an atheist. I don't know if you knew that or not. He's a very polite atheist, but... but he loved Zack's portrayal of Superman. But he wanted to be a little bit more bright and optimistic, and, you know, Zack's a very dark storyteller. But yeah, just the idea that most of these people, when they have these, they come out of the woodwork too. This is what I can't stand about these people. These fake comic book fans that hide behind, like, comic book profiles they find online. every stance that they've done, from the warehouse sequence to all this other stuff, to especially every year, it's like Ben Affleck's Batman like lives in the head of these people, right? Do the graphics improve on the Switch? No. No. No, the graphics don't improve at all. No. The graphics are what you see. If anything, the graphics now gave Batman Botox. I'll show you. If you look at his head, I don't know if you could see it, but his head is all Botoxy. It's fat. Whereas on the PS4 and the... not gonna do it. Not gonna do it because I have a Quest that's nearby, so it's not gonna show me. There it is. So, the character model, the suit looks okay, but the head is fat. This is only on the Switch version. If you play this on Steam, or you play this on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox, whatever, then Batman is going to look like more... His proportions will be correct. For whatever happened with the Switch version, they're trying so hard to get it to run. And again, this is not a Switch 2 enhanced version either. They're doing their best with the Switch's mechanics, and then the Switch 2 adds like a buffer that improves, you know, all the updates even more so, but you can still see it has like pixelation issues. It's got like scene popping and all kinds of stuff. Like, the graphics are not good on the original Switch. It would be nice for Warner Brothers to actually make a Switch 2 Extended Edition, which would just be the PS4 port, but they won't do it. Because Warner Brothers doesn't think. Warner Brothers does stupid stuff. But anyway, where was I? I was ranting about Twitter again. Ah, right. So, these people, when they make these types of, like, bold statements and they get, like... My biggest problem with them is they get thousands of retweets and they make more people just as stupid as they are. Like, their takes, which are wrong, very wrong, stupid, mundane, brain-dead, moronic, just like, you know, utter fools, they attract more idiots. And then all in their collective reasoning of being morons, they basically circle jerk each other, and they're like, yeah, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. This is Batman. He's not supposed to do this because this is the opinion that I formulated from following someone else who got lots of retweets and follows and stuff. Even though the person who made that post is completely uneducated, has never read a Batman book in their life, never watched the animated series, never played the Arkham games, never seen anything other than the Snyder movies and Matt Reeves stuff, and all of a sudden they're an expert. Oh, not this again. 24562663. They're experts. Exactly. They're not experts. They're morons. Not experts at all. They don't know anything. All they do is they retweet someone else's tweet, and then they write under it. It's like, yeah, this is so out of character for Batman to attack this guy in front of his family, man. He would never do this. This is the wrong version of Batman. And then you show them something that contradicts them to prove that Batman does that kind of stuff. They're like, well, that's from a show from 30 years ago that nobody watched. It's like, I'm gonna slap you across the face. Nobody watched the animated series. Miss me with that nonsense. Walk into my hand, please. My gosh. Did you see Screen Rant's article about wanting Batman to be campy? Of course Screen Rant says stupid stuff. They're tourists. They're not Batman fans. They're people who like the Adam West camp stuff. And here's the scary thing. They grew up with the animated series. They grew up with Keaton. They're my age. They grew up with all that stuff. They've had the education, but they choose to ignore it because that Batman to them is not fun. That Batman's scary because that Batman goes after criminals. And Screen Rant is pro-criminal. So of course they want a campy, goofy Batman that's not gonna, you know, take stuff seriously. They're pro-Antifa and criminal and all this other nonsense. They're Hollywood, baby, of course. Of course they want a campy, goofy Batman that you can't take seriously. They don't want him to apprehend criminals. They don't want a Ben Affleck-style Batman who's going to go around beating the snot out of people that deserve it. That's not the Batman that they want. They want a Batman that's going to be kind of like an idiot and a goofball, and, you know. That's why that Amazon Batman show does so... Well, actually, it's not doing well. But that's why that Amazon Batman show was made. The Bat Fam thing with Batman with a beard and the goofy sidekicks and all that other nonsense. It was made to appease like a bunch of tourists that don't even know anything about Batman. No, Screen Rant was born during the animated series. Screen Rant was made by a bunch of guys my age. You can't shield them. They're no. No. Nope. They're my age. My age and older. So that means when I was like 10 years old when the animated series came out, they were 15. Or they were like 16. They had every opportunity to see it, yes. No, don't give them a pass. They don't get a pass. We don't give people a pass anymore. They had Kevin Conroy's Batman, they had Keaton, they had Clooney. They were the kind of people that enjoyed the Batman and Robin movies, and they did not like the Nolan movies.
Oh my god!
That's the kind of people they are.
Crazy people.
That's the kind of people Screen Rant are. They're the kind of people that loved Batman and Robin, but were horrified by how dark and depressing Chris Nolan's Batman was. And they were like calling Ben Affleck's I remember the articles. They were calling Batman's Batman misogynistic because of what he did to Harley Quinn under the water. I mean, she drew a knife at him. He punched her in the face under the water. And then he gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation so she wouldn't drown. What a nice Batman.
Equal opportunity Batman.
They're like, how dare Batman punch a woman? It's like, she drew a knife on him underwater and tried to kill him. Of course he's going to punch her in the face. Come on, be real. It's because what they're doing in the comic books right now is they're making Batman a kinder, gentler, you know, soft on crime Batman because that's what they want in society. So they're trying to make all this stuff about Batman from the past 50 years. And I know Batman's been around for 80 plus years, just be quiet. Batman has been a dark, vengeful character since the late 60s. It wasn't until around 2019 that they started to change their approach with Batman at DC Comics because of what was happening in the world with riots and looting and all this other stuff. And they couldn't have a Batman that was hard on crime anymore because it didn't relate to their readership, which their readership is dwindling, but mostly criminals and vagabonds and degenerates are the ones that read DC Comics these days. It's not Batman fans. Batman fans buy what's known as they get classic stuff, or they watch the old movies or whatever. Yeah, if he was a fan of Frank Miller, I doubt it. Tom King says he was a fan of Frank Miller. No. He's just saying that. Because his Batman is the opposite of Frank Miller's Batman. It's even the opposite of Frank Miller's Year One. Because remember, Year One is actually really good. It's like peak modern Batman. You know, everything that you're supposed to like about that Batman, it's there. And then Frank Miller went crazy after The Dark Knight Returns with The Dark Knight Strikes Again and All-Star Batman and Robin. And that's when Frank Miller Batman kind of goes out the door. Why Jared Leto decided, okay, I'm going to make my Batman based on All-Star, which everybody hated, I'll never know. Whoever gave Jared Leto the reading material for his Joker, somebody really needs to be like, this was all your fault. Because you had an issue of All-Star in there, didn't you? Didn't you? When you were giving him Joker material, you gave him an All-Star comic, and that's the one that he used for his inspiration. Out of all the comics you could have given him, you gave him All-Star. Didn't you? Because if you look at Jared Leto's Joker, doesn't he look a lot like the mob version of the Joker? The Mafia one from All-Star? He does indeed. Not seeing an episode of Batman the Animated Series is like, you know, It's not. I don't have a problem if you've never seen the an episode of Batman the Animated Series where Batman does brutal stuff. What I'm saying is these tourists, these fake comic fans, they act like they're experts when you show them something that contradicts them and proves that they're wrong. Then they say, well, that was poorly written, when that is literally the benchmark for everything Batman the past 30 years. The Arkham games, the Batman movies, the Nolan movies, the Ben Affleck stuff, all of it, the Arkham games, all of it's inspired by the animated series.
It's like if you, without ever having listened to one of Beethoven's symphonies all the way through, if you were just like, yeah, Beethoven wasn't that great of a musician, just saying that randomly. That's like saying that about the animated series. Like, you don't have to listen to one of Beethoven's symphonies to know that his symphonies were extremely important to the musical world and to, like, the entire world and, like, the history of everything. Like, you have to acknowledge the importance of the animated series. Like, you cannot act like it wasn't that important or nobody cares about it. You don't need to watch an episode to know how important it was.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But to have the audacity to say that, oh, you know, once they're proven wrong, mind you, because I proved a bunch of idiots on Twitter wrong. Once I proved them wrong and I showed them the source material that they were saying would never happen, then they had the audacity to be like, well, that was a poorly written show. It's like, those types of, like, ignorant statements just really piss me off, because every single aspect of Batman's character that has been shaped in your media and entertainment for 30 to 40 years all stems back to 1992's Batman the Animated Series.
Without the animated series, Batman would have been campy.
Even Matt Reeves, who a lot of you guys hold to like a god tier of respect, has said that Batman the Animated Series is pivotal to his characterization of Pattinson. He uses elements of the animated series with his interpretation of Batman. Okay? So the fact that even, like, Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves both say that stuff. Now, the thing is, they're mad, though. The reason why a lot of these people, like, say horrible things about the animated series is because their animated series was supposed to be the Caped Crusader, and the Caped Crusader sucks. The Caped Crusader was made by Bruce Timm and Matt Reeves and, you know, J.J. Abrams, and it's garbage. It will always be garbage. It will never live up to the perfection of the animated series. And here's the thing. All these weirdos and freaks on Twitter, it gave them exactly what they wanted. It put a mirror to the face of society's insanity and put it full-blown on television for everybody to see. And the reason why everybody hated the Caped Crusader so much is because it was a mirror of what our society looks like, which is a joke. That show will never age gracefully because it will be a reminder of the 2020s. Whereas Batman the Animated Series will continue to age like a fine wine because it is not dated. Or they have storylines that are just associated with the world that Batman is in and operating in Batman the Animated Series. Whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even 50 years from now, you can sit down and watch that show and enjoy it for what it is. There is nothing that connects it to the time and era that you are living today. Whereas the Caped Crusader is going to be stuck in 2020 forever. Everyone who watches that show will remember every aspect of this horrible decade. That is the difference. And that's why they're angry. That's why they go to Twitter. That's why they make those smear-like articles about the animated series and say Caped Crusader is better. Is because they're upset that their version of Batman, who's a wimp, who is not a tough-on-criminals Batman, failed. And so they're going to attack every single aspect of the good Dark Knight that we grew up with because they're throwing a tantrum.
You know what they're like? They're like the ugly stepsisters that tear apart Cinderella's gown because, like, she looks pretty and they don't, and they can't stand that. You know?
That's the difference.
I'm getting kind of tired of all this rioting.
Does anybody know if Diedrich Bader was a good Batman? He was okay. He was supposed to be like a Silver Age Batman. Diedrich Bader was playing like the 1960s version of Batman, but playing it straight. So what made Diedrich Bader's Batman interesting and unique is his Batman was taken from the perspective of, what if we took a straight Batman, meaning like a Batman that's not comedic, and put him in a crazy world where everything is a joke, but that Batman is either in on the joke or he's not paying attention because he's so stoic, and we'll have all these colorful characters around him, and we'll make these interesting stories based on, like, 1960s World Finest and Brave and the Bold comics. That was the whole point of Diedrich Bader's Batman. It's not that he was bad, per se. It's just, like, he was, you know, highlighting a type of Batman that existed in the comics for, like, people who remember the team-up books of the late 60s and early 70s. And even, I think it ran until the early 80s, like the World's Finest and the Brave and the Bold stuff. World's Finest lasted longer. I know that. But what I'm saying is, I understand the psychological makeup of these weirdos on Twitter, is most of them are upset that they're, you know, the Batman with the Reddit mod Riddler and the Cape Crusader with all the, you know, checks and balances of modern society today all didn't do well. And they're upset, so they look at stuff that, you know, they have no understanding about, and they try to tear it down because it makes them feel better. That's their whole thing. They're not educated. They don't understand Batman. They're the least understanding of Batman's character. They've only seen a couple things in their life, which gives them no basis for them to open their mouths and spew nonsense. They do it anyway, though. Like, they should have their Batman card taken and, like, cut up with scissors. Because they have no reason to discuss it. Aren't they making an animated Cinderella movie where the stepsisters are nice now? Probably. I wouldn't put it past them. Like, the stepsisters were cruel and vindictive and mean and narcissists and all this other stuff, so now they're going to make them look like the villain, or the heroes, and they'll make the nice Cinderella character look like the villain the whole time, because that's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put this, I'm going to blow your mind. Society turned into the ugly stepsisters. Where the ugly stepsisters are the ones in power, they're the, they think they have the moral authority and all this other stuff, and Cinderella is the one that drove them to be mean and nasty. They weren't mean and nasty on their own, it's because Cinderella made them look bad. That's the reason they did what they did. It's all Cinderella's fault. Because society is the ugly stepsisters now. Yeah. That's the whole thing. And the reason why they made Batman, like, not really a hero anymore in the comics, and he beats up cops now, and he does a bunch of other stuff, and, you know, doesn't stop, like, what they call lesser crime, but I hate to tell you this. If you mug somebody, you committed a crime. If you break into somebody's house, breaking and entering, and you rob them, you're a criminal. It's not a lesser crime. You know? It's a crime. If you loot, it's a crime. They're trying to sugarcoat what Batman does when he fights crime now because they don't want to offend their readers. And their readers are Antifa, and their readers are people who break into people's houses and get shot. You know, they're the dregs of society. Those are the people who stuck to reading Batman comics. So, of course, they had to change Batman in order to fit, like, these weirdos that are currently reading. Most of us who grew up with the good Batman, we can't get those stories anymore of him, like, you know, stopping a person who's stealing a purse, or somebody who's being mugged in an alleyway, or somebody who's, like, you know, breaking into an electronics store, all that other stuff. That kind of stuff can't be shown anymore because the stepsisters of society are the ones in power. That's what it all stems to. It is terrifying because we're living in a society that's morally not correct. It's backwards.
And Cinderella didn't do anything?
Nope, Cinderella was the one who was abused and tortured by her stepsisters and gaslighted and all this other stuff, and now they're going to make a movie from the stepsisters' point of view that Cinderella was the bad one. you want to know what that means too, Amber? What they're saying is they are not, like, in charge of their own actions. It's not their fault. It's someone else's fault that made them the way there is. There's no... What's that word I'm looking for? There's no accountability. There it is.
You know what this reminds me of? Like, when I tried out for this solo when I was younger, and, like, this girl, Michelle, who was a... You know, her mom had her into singing when she was 15, and, you know, she got all these solos. And some of my friends who were doing questionably things, you know, like possibly in a gang or something on my street, they were like, we should beat her up because it's not fair that she gets all the solos. Because she's getting all these solos, she deserves to be beat up. And that's the same mentality as, you know, the Cinderella's sister saying because she's pretty, she deserves to be mistreated, or because Batman is right, he deserves to be, you know, like, mocked for being tough on crime. It's like, because you stand for truth or justice or beauty or anything good, because you stand for anything that's good, you deserve to be abused in this world, in their reality. Just you just existing and doing the right thing and just working hard every day means they can abuse you because they feel bad about themselves. Because they're not... It's funny because why do they feel bad about themselves? If they say that they're fine how they are, then why does it, like, they see somebody else doing the right thing and it bothers them so much? Like, why would it bother them? If they're fine how they are, then why are they so bothered?
Well, what I find funny, though, I was just thinking of this. The Batman that everybody used to make fun of was Keaton. Like, the one who was always in the memes where, like, this is prior to 2016 and stuff. Like, prior to the Martha. But, like, every Batman fan and non-fan would always say, well, we didn't like Michael Keaton's version of Batman because he straight up killed people and he smiled. And it's like, well, yeah, because that Batman was based after the Golden Age. That Batman was based after the Bob Kane, Bill Finger Batman, because Bob Kane was on set with Michael Keaton as the consultant. So he was actually telling Michael, who apparently Michael only knew about campy Batman, like Adam West.
Yeah.
So Bill Finger and, you know, Bob Kane's Batman, Bob was the consultant on set, and the reading material that he brought wasn't Frank Miller stuff. He didn't like Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Like, he saw, there's a documentary where you see Bob Kane is arranging the material for Michael Keaton to read, and it has, like, the Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns, and Bob Kane, who's, like, elderly, he looks at it, he picks it up, and then he puts his, like, Golden Age, like, 1940s Batman books on top of, you know, Frank Miller's stuff.
Yeah, like in front of that.
Exactly, because he wants Michael Keaton to see that. And if you look at the Tim Burton version of Batman, yes, it has some elements of, you know, Frank Miller, but all the weird one-liners and things like that, that's the 1940s Batman that Bob Kane and Bill Finger created. That's that Batman, which is the Golden Age.
Yeah.
He did kill people, and he did have, you know, weird one-liners. That was him.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, I could talk about the thing forever, but, like, if they really are making a Cinderella movie in which the stepsisters are the good guys, it just is appalling to me, because they're one of the worst cases of such long-term abuse that she had to go through in every version of that story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was constant abuse. Like, she was actually made a slave to her sisters. They treated her as a slave. Even though she was literally the heir to their house, they didn't care. They treated her like she was worthless. Like she was just... In fact, they actually... Not only did they treat her like a slave, but when they didn't want her to be acknowledged as a human being, like they said, every eligible maiden, every woman in the whole world, in the land, was supposed to be able to be invited, and they locked her in her room where she couldn't even leave. You know?
Oh, there it is.
It's just horrific. Like, I've actually cried at several of the Cinderella movies. It's just been... I can't remember which ones, but there were some that were so hard to watch because it's just constant abuse, you know? The whole point of the story is supposed to teach people, like, if you the whole reason why things went well for Cinderella was because instead of her becoming like the bad stepsister, she chose to remain good and not become like them. And that's why things went well for her, because, you know, the prince noticed she wasn't a complete jerk like the rest of her family. Like, if she became like them, she wouldn't have had any chance with that prince, because she would have been a horrible person too, just like them. She remained herself, so.
She wasn't on anyone's side but her own.
What's frustrating is, like, you know, like, I don't understand why it's like people choose the criminals to be soft on. Like, oh, the people breaking into people's houses and threatening people with weapons. What about innocent people that are just trying to live their lives, and they have some crazy person come into their house, endangering them, threatening them, giving them almost a heart attack, possibly causing them, you know, to die or to be harmed, and trauma, and it could be a little old lady that's, you know, being attacked, or it could be a family, or it could just be a regular person, whoever it is. I mean, it's like saying that normal people don't deserve the right not to be threatened and have their life. I mean, what are we going to turn into, a third world country where, you know, militia people come by and just like slaughter whole villages? I mean, that's what they want America to become.
They don't want
Like,
people. They don't want people to have heroes that stand up to crime because they're criminals themselves. It's like criminals are the ones that are in charge of your pop culture now. Like, they're the ones that are telling, you know, people what's right and wrong, and anything that deviates from what they deem as right and wrong now, which is like, you know, yeah, of course murder's really wrong, but is it really wrong to mug somebody? You know, you have to think about that no, they say you have to think about that person's circumstances. Like, what caused them to hold you up? Why did they break in your house? How dare you shoot that person for breaking into your house? They were just trying to rob you.
Oh my gosh.
Right, but this is the thing. You have the villains now who are in charge of your entertainment, and they're telling you, hey, you can't have heroes that confront evil, because is that really evil? I mean, it's not like, yes, accidentally they shot the person because they were scared when they broke into the house.
But it's their fault for bringing a weapon into somebody else's house and threatening
No. They're saying they accidentally killed the homeowner.
No.
Because they, you know...
It wasn't an accident. They took the gun, put it in their pocket, and brought it.
I know. I'm just saying...
What did they think was going to happen?
I'm just saying, you have these types of people that are in charge of your entertainment, and they're writing your comic books,
I know.
and they're doing all this other stuff, and then they're pointing at the stuff that came before you. I don't care if you want to write about that stuff. That's fine. My problem is you then go back to the past, and you look at something like Ben Affleck's Batman, Kevin Conroy's Batman, Michael Keaton... 70s Batman, whatever, and you say, this stuff was inaccurate to how Batman is.
You try to discredit it.
Exactly. That's the problem I have.
Yeah, it's just like Harley Quinn looking back at her outfit and going, oh.
Yeah, they're basically, they're trying to shame you because deep down you know something is wrong, but you don't do anything about it because society tells you, is it really wrong? It's not as wrong as this. So is it wrong? It's like, yes, it is still bad. It's very bad. Just because it's not as bad as murder, it doesn't mean that it's okay. You're trying to, you know, make it okay to do this crime and that crime because it's not murder. It's like, where do you stop? Like, then the thing is, they'll be like, well, I mean, is murder really bad? You know, they'll keep moving the goalposts. The slope will just keep moving. Exactly.
And eventually murder will be fine.
What brings on that stuff? I mean, it stems from all kinds of things. But this is where these people are, though. Because why in the world do they have such a problem with the animated series, Arkham, you know, and Ben Affleck's Batman? Because these Batmen, they all confront evil, and they do it in extreme ways because that's how they crush evil. You can't befriend evil, you can't be nice to it, you can't coexist with it, you need to stamp it out. And they don't like a Batman that does that because it doesn't fit with their moral code, which is they're immoral. And that's why there's this clash. That's why there's this clash online with all these people you know, saying terrible things about Ben Affleck and, you know, Zack Snyder in the animated series is because you had clear depictions of good versus evil, and they don't believe in good and evil anymore. They think good and evil is subjective. Crime is subjective. Right and wrong is subjective. And it's not. Right and wrong is right and wrong. There's no, like, line drawn in the middle. And your superheroes, they're graying them out because it makes them feel bad. That's the only reason that they're messing with superheroes, is because superheroes was a way to teach people, kids and young adults, about right and wrong. You had guys in colorful costumes that were fighting supervillains in colorful costumes, and the supervillains committed crimes, and the superheroes came in and, you know, punished the evildoers. But now it's like, because everything is seen as subjective in DC Comics today, it's like, what's the difference between a hero and a villain? You know? Today's Samuel L. Jackson's 77th birthday? That's cool.
Look, the Arkham Knight's just some...
And I don't even have to follow most of these comic book weirdos. I can just tell based on, you know, I'm going to get crushed. I think I'm going to die here. Wait, am I going to die here, or is that something else? Oh, snap. Oh, snap! Yeah, I messed up. I mean, this is why I don't like those comic book tourists, though, is because, like, I understand more about them on a psychological level than they even realize. Like, there's a deep-rooted reason why they don't like something.
Speaking of how bad society is, did you see all those videos about during the pandemic when people couldn't get out?
Batman's acting weird. That's what I heard.
Sorry, Amber's talking to me. Da, 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 da. But yeah, you can't, and they even say stuff all the time. Like, I replied to somebody, and they're like, "I want to see a Snyder person explain to me how this is an okay scene where Batman jumps Deadshot in front of his little girl." It's like they're trying to belittle the Snyder fans, saying the Snyder fans aren't, you know, Bat fans, when in reality we understand the character better than they do. And I'm not just a Snyder fan; I'm a Batman fan. I appreciate all eras of Batman's legacy, from, you know, the 40s and the early 50s. I don't like camp very much, but I respect the 70s and 80s run. I really like the 70s run. I like the 90s run to some extent, the 2010s. I don't like the 2020s run. Don't like it. I'm familiar with it, but I don't like it. But I also didn't like the New 52 run either. Like, I was more of a pre-52 guy. But when they have these challenging statements that they do, you know, they don't even understand the character that they're trying to challenge you. So what I love doing is I love schooling these people because they're idiots. Like, they don't think that a Batman expert is actually going to swoop out of nowhere and come after them, but I make them look like fools all the time. Even though I can't ratio them, I just make them look stupid all the time. Because they don't get it. They're ignorant responses, yeah. And then they don't even understand, like, when it's like, well, you like the Matt Reeves Batman. Did you realize that Matt Reeves said he's a fan? Uh-oh.
I can't do that. I need to get...
He's a fan of the animated series. He loves Bruce Timm's work. He likes the Arkham games. You say that they don't understand the character because Ben Affleck said he's a fan of the animated series and the Arkham games. He was going to base the Batman movie after Arkham Origins. And you're saying that they don't understand the character of Batman because his Batman was brutal and, you know, beat up criminals? Oh no. And then the reason why they don't make fun of Keaton, here's the thing. Like, Michael Keaton agrees with most of Hollywood on several of their, like, political beliefs, right? So, even though Michael Keaton's Batman is very controversial, like for Batman fans and things like that, most people hold like Michael Keaton to like a high pedigree, like the top of the pillar of Batman characters, because his social and political beliefs align with theirs. His Batman doesn't align with any of their things that they expect from Batman, but the reason why they're okay and they see Michael Keaton as a cool character is because his Batman in real life aligns with them politically. That's the only reason. Yeah, they can't separate the character from the actor. Exactly. Whereas, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Michael Keaton's Batman. I think he's the most humanistic Batman ever. But I think that there are better Batman live-action actors. I appreciate what Michael Keaton did. And I think that Michael Keaton was very, very important to have in the Batman mythos, of course. But I don't think he's the best live-action Batman. I think he's like the grandfather Batman that all the quote-unquote modern Batmans, like, you know, bounce off of. From Nolan to Affleck to, Pattinson and stuff like that. You know, they're definitely showing respect to the guy who came before him. But the only reason people are nice to Michael Keaton's Batman today is because he aligns with everything that they believe. That's the only reason. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, Ben Affleck also agrees with them politically and socially, probably even more than Michael Keaton, but they can't stand Ben Affleck's Batman. And the only logical reason is because Ben Affleck says he's a professing Catholic. Even though he agrees on everything, they're like, oh, I don't like the fact... They say it all the time about Chris Pratt. They're like, I hate Chris Pratt because he's a Christian. It's like, he doesn't even talk about it very much. I talk about my faith more than Chris Pratt does. I'm just saying. Like, the older I get a little bit more religious, because I'm getting older, obviously. You know? But it's just, it's funny. Did I get it? I didn't get it, did I? Nah, I somehow missed. Alright, so we need to get up there somehow. I'm missing something. There's a door or a mechanism that's supposed to open so I can blow something up with the Batmobile.
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm getting kind of tired of all this lying.
And that's preventing me from getting the Riddler trophy. John, if you're here, do you remember how to jerry-rig the door? Like the Batmobile can't get through because... Oh, never mind, I see it. It's a pretty simple solution. Never mind. Was that enough to open the doors? Is that enough? No. Not yet. Because the doors have to come down for the Batmobile in order to shoot the wall that I need to get to. Unless I did blow it up. Did I blow it up? I got it! How did that happen? Okay, never mind. I did it sloppy way, but I still got it. Never mind. Crisis averted. Well, the only reason he's saying he liked how he died in Star Wars is because Mark Hamill's not getting jobs anymore. Like, Mark Hamill realized that he can't be truthful about his character anymore because he's not going to get jobs in Hollywood. Because Hollywood likes weak Luke Skywalker. They don't like optimistic, hopeful, you know, strong, intelligent Luke Skywalker. They like the Luke Skywalker that's a drunkard, that gave up, that has depression, that, you know, is kind of schizophrenic and, you know, will try to kill his own family member because of stupid plot reasons. That's the type of Luke Skywalker they say. They're like, that's our Luke Skywalker. That's the most relatable. It's like the one who's optimistic and hopeful and moral and stuff like that. We don't like that one. That's what people like Screen Rant and Kotaku and CNN and all these other places say. Like, their favorite Luke Skywalker is the one who died with a drug overdose. They say that it's not right for a character to be so hopeful and optimistic and see the good in people, and, you know, he would succumb to being evil himself just like his father and stuff like that. And it's like, no, he would never become like his dad. He was the opposite of his dad. And even George Lucas doesn't agree. Mark Hamill for many years didn't agree, but the reason why he's saying stuff now that it was good is because he's trying to get probably roles as a Force ghost, or he's trying to get like more roles in Hollywood, because the Hollywood mindset has changed to that of an anti-hero instead of a hero. They don't want heroic figures in history anymore. They want people who are ambiguous and, you know, on the line between good and evil, because that's where they are morally. They're immoral people with no morality. They don't believe in good and evil. Exactly. It's very scary. But these are the people that are shaping your entertainment and stuff like that. So the only reason Mark Hamill is acting like a loon right now is because that's the people that are in charge of Hollywood. It's the people that want to hire him because he's saying, like, you know, he probably wants to show up as, if I'm being completely honest, Daisy Ridley is coming back with a new Star Wars trilogy. He probably wants to come back as a Force ghost, as her Obi-Wan. Whereas before he said he wanted nothing to do with Disney. Now he's changing his tune, and I see all the PR stuff he's doing. He's doing that on purpose so he can get work. Not many people are giving Mark Hamill jobs anymore. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. So he wants in on Daisy Ridley's like new Star Wars thing so he can continue to have work. Even though it's a complete, like, you know, departure of his character that he, like, literally created, he wants a job. And he won't do the Joker anymore because he says he can't do it without Kevin. And it might be because he's sad. You know, he did play the role a lot, but he didn't always play the Joker opposite of Kevin Conroy's Batman. That's what people are forgetting. Mark Hamill reprised his role as the Joker numerous times for various projects, including he played opposite Adam West's Batman. And he said it was the greatest experience of his life because he got to play with his Batman, which was Adam West. That was the Batman he grew up with. You know? So, I mean, Kevin dying, to me it feels like it was just another excuse for Mark Hamill to retire again, because he retired playing the Joker 8 times before Kevin died. After Arkham Asylum, he said, I'm retiring. After Arkham City, I'm retiring now. After he appeared in a Batman movie, I'm retiring. I'm not doing this anymore. Birds of Prey, he reprised his role as the Joker. He said, well, this was my last time playing the Joker, and it was great to do the voice for a live-action version. I won't be doing it again. Comes back and does Arkham Asylum. You know, Mark Hamill is synonymous with continually saying, I quit, and I come back. He's said it so many times that it's like, every time he says it, I just kind of roll my eyes. Like, yep, he's going to retire again. And then everybody's like, are you shocked that Mark is back again playing the Joker? Aren't you excited? It's like, no. It just feels like a PR stunt. He's done it too many times. Like, I fell for it, like, after Arkham City. He said, I'm dead. They're not going to do anything with me anymore. Let someone else play the Joker. It's like, that makes sense. He died in Arkham City. He's not going to be back. He's back in Arkham Knight. He's back in Arkham VR. Okay. And then everybody's like, are you excited? He came back in Arkham VR. He came back in Arkham Knight. It's like, I guess. But didn't he say he was done? You're a hater. I'm not a hater. He said he was quitting. Are you excited he's back in Justice League action? Oh my gosh. But he said he's done with the role. Hater. So I become a hater just for pointing out obvious truths. It's weird. Like, I am a truth person. I point the truth in front of people, and they're like demons hissing at it like, ha! He said something honest and true, get him! It's weird. Is Hamill coming back again? Yeah, he's coming back to play Luke Skywalker as a Force Ghost. Highly likely. He's doing a PR stunt where he's going around saying, I don't want to, you know, interrupt anything, but I just want to tell people how much I love The Last Jedi and how much I love The Rise of Skywalker, even though I spent like almost a decade doing a tour saying how much I hated those movies and, you know, screw Disney. But Daisy Ridley has a trilogy coming up and I need a job. I mean, they're going to need guidance from Luke Skywalker as a Force Ghost, just like Ben guided me in Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. I mean, people can't be this dumb. Right?
Can you believe it?
How many times did he retire as the Joker? 6.
City, never seen Batman. Not once. Just lucky, I guess.
Let's see if I can remember all the times he retired as Joker. He retired as Joker after Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. That was 1. Then he retired after Birds of Prey. That's 2. Then he said he was retiring after Arkham Asylum. Then he came back for Arkham City and he says, I'm dead now, so we're going to pass the baton to a new Joker. Enter Troy Baker. Came back in Arkham VR. Said he was done again. Then he came back for Arkham Knight. Then he says, that's it, I'm done. Then he came back for Justice League Action. Then he retired after that. And then he came back again for Crisis on Infinite Worlds 3. And he might have... Oh, wait. Nope. He came back again for Lego DC Supervillains. So it's like 6 or 7 times that he said, I'm done with the role. Let somebody else have it. Like Kevin Michael Richardson, Troy Baker, whatever. Give it to the new dogs. Right? He said that. But he always reprises his role. Because he was supposed to play Joker in Batman Under the Red Hood, but he retired, and that's the reason John DiMaggio, the guy who played Jake the dog, that's the reason he played the Joker in an incredible role in Under the Red Hood. That role was supposed to go to Mark Hamill because he was the resident Joker, but he retired. So then, of course, they, you know, did that with some other Joker. He views the Justice League TV show, Sammy, as a cameo role. Like the Justice League, the animated series, he's in 2 episodes. He still views that as Batman, the animated series, so he always walks back. I wasn't really retired, and he said the same thing about Batman Beyond. He's like, even though I announced something, he says, I didn't realize that they were going to bring me back for, you know, the Batman Beyond movie because, you know, I'd moved on and I really, really liked the script. And I was like, you know what? I'm ready to do this again. Because he says, I didn't want to be typecast as the Joker. He says, I was typecast as Luke Skywalker. And he says, I love the Joker, but I have other roles in me. He didn't do any other roles other than the Joker in the 2000s. He was already typecast. He's been typecast for a long time. Does anybody know where this Riddler trophy is? If not, I'll go somewhere else. But what I'm saying is, it's like Mark's like big thing that he does is he announces that he's doing something dramatic, and it feels like it's just a PR marketing stunt. And then afterwards, everybody's supposed to be shocked, and they do. They make all these articles. Mark Hamill's coming back one more time to play the Joker. Are you excited? And it's like, I knew he'd be back. And when I would tell people, I knew he'd be back, they're like, how did you know he would be back? He said he was retired. And it's like, really? Okay, and then I'm just like, here we go. Let's look at a series of events of Mark Hamill's retirement of Joker. He could have a Guinness World Record for the amount of times he's retired as the Joker. He's only retired as Luke Skywalker twice. He's retired as the Joker 6 or 7 times. In 15 years. So, I mean, it just feels like a marketing thing. So I don't take it seriously. Whenever he says, I'm done, it's like, uh-huh. Sure. And then when he's back again, it's like, everyone, are you excited I'm back? No, not really. I was looking forward to somebody new playing him. I can't deal with the tug-of-war, Mark, back and forth saying you're retiring when you're still so young. You could play the voice of the Joker until your 80s, if you wanted to. You could be the definitive Joker for several generations, but you want to do this tap dance around will you, won't you? And it's just like, I don't really care. It's like, if you don't want to do the role anymore, don't do the role. But if you want to do the role, just please do the role and just stop with all this nonsense. It's tiring. It's not fun. It's just like, Mark, please. I don't like the runaround. Because it's like, then, when every other content creator is, like, talking about how excited they are for Mark Hamill, I'm not excited anymore, because I'm tired. I have Mark Hamill fatigue from all his, like, I'm gonna quit, and I'm gonna come back. And nobody remembers that he does that, but the thing is, I remember that he does it, because I have such a good memory when it comes to Batman. I'm probably a bigger fan of Mark Hamill's Joker than they are, because I know everything about his Joker. I know every single role Mark Hamill's ever played as the Joker. And I know how many times he's retired from the role. Doesn't voice acting for that long hurt your voice? Depends. It depends. Most voice acting jobs only last for about 3 months. 2 to 3 months. If a voice actor is trying to earn like $100,000 a year, then they have to have like 4 or 5 different voiceover roles in that year. Like something like that. That's why the guy in Solo Leveling, the reason he was able to bank as much money as he did in 2025, he appeared in 5 anime in 2025, and he appeared in 3 video games, to the point where he almost lost his voice. Like, he really pushed himself to be in as much stuff as possible because he wanted to take on as many projects because he loves voice acting, but at the same time, he shouldn't take on that many projects because he's going to damage his voice. Most voice actors, again, only take on 5 roles, if that. And not all of them are leading roles, either. Sometimes they're, like, side roles. Or, like, you know, they're the character's, like, mentor. Or they're the character that dies in the first, like, I don't know, 6 episodes of a 12-episode anime or something like that. You know. Yeah, they're the anime character that dies to show that that show you're watching has stakes. Yeah. Stuff like that. I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to be the voice actor who's not the leading man, but the guy who has, like, multiple small roles. And then I make, like, $100,000 a year. Like, I'd be fine with that. No, voice actor from the 1980s, they had to work a lot and they got paid bumpkus. Voice actors from the 1980s had to, let's see, how do I explain this? 5 people would be hired, 1 girl and 5 guys. 1 guy would be responsible for all the old people voices, and he'd have to come up with 6 different old people sounds. You have to have, like, you know, the 1 guy would play the mentor, and, like, the mythical animal creature. 1 guy would make sound effects, like, ugh! Another guy would play both the villain and the mentor. Case in point, Skeletor. Yes, Skeletor also played Cringer, He-Man's battle cat. Bet you didn't know that, but he did. So not only was he calling He-Man a buffoon, but he also was encouraging Adam at the same time with another role. And he did that for 100 episodes. Most people didn't even realize that. And Alan's like, are you serious? He's like, I was the voice of Battle Cat and Skeletor. I did both simultaneously. He says, I literally was the very embodiment of good versus evil. I was battling myself every day. The voice of Mumra, I believe, was, the guy who played Mumra was also the guy who played, the guy who died in Thundercats, the Lion-O Force Ghost guy. I believe he was Mumra. Jago or forget his name. But Panthro played like 7 roles in Thundercats, not just Panthro. Lion-O played like everything from villagers to Lion-O to human characters to villains. Chitara played like several female characters, but they brought in another female actor. The Robotech actors, there was only 7 cast members in Robotech, and they played like 50 people. The Voltron cast was 7 people. The men played multiple roles, from Prince Lotor to Peter Cullen played King Randor. He played the Mentor. He played one of the villains. He played a couple row beasts. The guy who played Keith, he played so many people. Princess Allura was not just Princess Allura. She also played Hagar the Witch. So Princess Allura was the really nice sounding, cute blonde pilot of the Blue Line. She also played Hagar the Witch. So back then, they would hire voice actors who would play multiple roles because it was cheaper. Nowadays, you hire multiple people to play multiple roles. But the voice actors of the 80s and 90s were way more talented than voice actors today because they could play several characters. And they were expected to.
Yeah, I fought Batman once, broke my arm in 3 places. But the way I see it, lightning ain't gonna strike the same place twice.
Yeah, yoink. Da 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 da. Oh, Mark Hamill's played a lot of characters. How many of you know, how many roles do you think Mark Hamill played in Batman the Animated Series? How many of you, raise your hand if you thought Mark Hamill only played Joker in the animated series? If you thought that Mark Hamill was only cast as the Joker in the animated series, raise your hand if you think that was the only role he played. Nobody should be raising their hand. No one should raise their hand because he played multiple characters in the animated series. Yeah. Yep. Kevin played more than Bruce Wayne in the animated series. Yep. Yep. In the animated series, he played more roles than Ferris Boyle. Ferris Boyle is what got him cast in the animated series. The role of Joker had already been cast to Tim Curry. So Mark Hamill was already... He played secondary characters in the animated series. Everything from thugs to Ferris Boyle to, like, other really bizarre characters. But his first paying job was Ferris Boyle in Heart of Ice. And then they called him in. I don't remember how it happened, but they had already cast the Joker and they had already done the Joker, but they didn't want to go with his version of the Joker because they thought it was too scary. So Mark came in and he redubbed his version of the Joker over Tim Curry's stuff. He had to, like, dub over Tim Curry's stuff. And then they presented it to Fox and WB, and that's how he got the Joker role. Because he was already cast as, like, smaller characters in guest roles. Because that's what Mark Hamill did. Mark Hamill was not a leading man, like, in voiceover in the 90s. He played a lot of cartoon shows where he just played, like, background characters. And him playing the Joker was a huge boon to his career because it really gave him a lot of jobs as a voice actor, whereas before he was just in, like, minor roles as a voice actor. it kind of put him on the map with voice acting, and he got a lot of roles. His next big role that he got was Hobgoblin at Fox for the Spider-Man show, and they wanted him to do this Joker voice. So it's not like he could only do his Joker voice. Hobgoblin, they asked him to sound like the Joker, but more evil, because they wanted, you know, they wanted that voice. I guess they were big fans of it. I don't know. I did not know. Hi, Linky. He played the Hobgoblin, and he played a skeleton monster, skeleton monster villain in the 90s. A couple. In fact, he's played a skeleton villain 4 times before He-Man. When he was cast in Kevin Smith's He-Man, he had played 3 other Skull villains. All in shows that didn't get more than 1 season. But he did do it. I just don't remember the shows because, again, they were one-offs. It's hard for me to remember cartoon shows that only had 1 season. If it's not an anime, I can't remember. I know one was on Nickelodeon, and he was like this weird... What, honey? You'd have to look it up. Probably 8 o'clock. I'm almost done here, honey. I'm almost at 1,000 views, and then gonna bounce. And then, guys, I'm gonna do another Riddler thing later. I'm gonna do another Riddler thing at like 9:30. But I won't be around for a while because I'm going out to eat with my wife and my parents, who are here from Albany. But we have a lot of Riddler. We have a ton of Riddler crap to do, so there will be another Riddler stream later tonight. My parents are elderly, so they won't be awake very long. They'll go out to dinner, then we're going to go see some Christmas lights, and then they'll drive back to their hotel probably. So I'll be back to work by like 9 o'clock. Most likely. Might even be before then, I don't know. I do not know. That's wonderful, honey. I see something.
When's Scarecrow's show back on?
You don't have to apologize.
Between Riddler and Scarecrow on those billboards, I'm kind of hoping for a power outage.
Ugh. Somebody was asking, why are you doing the Riddler stuff? You've already done it before. It's like Nintendo erased my progress and nobody's watching the other games that I'm doing. I don't want to do a 5-hour live stream. Look at it this way. I have 80 people here. I already got 1,000 views after 2 hours. If I was playing Metroid, I would have to stream for 5 hours to get 1,000 views. 5 hours. Now you tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you rather play? A game that you know is going to get views, so you don't have to work as long, or would you play a game that's brand new that takes 5 hours to get paid?
Hey, get the same pay if you work 2 or 5 hours.
Yeah. And the faster I get 1,000 views, the more money that I make on a live stream. So the fact that I got 1,000 views after 2 hours, that's a pretty good, you know, stream thing. Whereas if it takes 5 hours or longer to get 1,000 views, that's going to be a very low payout. It's a trap, isn't it? Oh, it's even worse if it doesn't get 1,000 views. Then I have to wait for what's known as the, what do they call that income? I have to wait for the VOD income, yeah, and the VOD income is trash. Did I squashed all those guys.
I nearly got hit by Batman's tank.
Link is so out of it. You know, the Riddler really didn't think this through about putting that, squashy thing there. All the robots got flattened. It's one of the funniest Riddler things ever. Womp womp. Is he gonna chime in and be like, you broke all my machines? No, he didn't care. What if I'm done with the riddles? Well, I'll show you what the Switch did to my progress. Okay, so here's what happened with my progress, okay? The Mr. Freeze mission is gone. See? Mr. Freeze mission has to be done all over again. I had to do the Killer Croc thing all over again. I have to do the Scarecrow stuff is 90%. Riddler now is 109 out of 243. So 78%. These are 80%. So I mean, I have to do it all over again. Well, I mean, I don't have to do it all over again, but I have to. I'm not beating the game until I conquer the Riddler. So I'll probably be playing this off and on until January, because I'm going to be taking a break starting December 24th, because I'm doing Arkham Origins all the way over again. Arkham Origins will be done for the first time 100% all the way through on a brand new system, which is the Steam Deck. So that means we'll be doing the Cyrus Pickney stuff, everything. I haven't done the Cyrus Pickney things in 10 years. I believe. Because every time that I do a Batman Arkham Origins stream, it's New Game Plus. This is not a New Game Plus stream. It's starting all the way over. Because I don't have any save files. I finally figured out why I'm starting over again. Because it was like, last year we did Arkham Origins on Wii U, and the year before we did it on the Wii U. Well, the reason why I'm not doing it on the Wii U again this year is because I have no more save data. You're only allowed, like, 4 save slots. You can't save over them either. So that means I'm going to have to... I have 4 save slots that I'll be able to use on Arkham Origins for the Steam Deck. So that means for 4 more years, you know, we can do a stream all over again, and then I'm going to have to start erasing save files. Because I still plan on keeping the tradition up as long as people watch and show up for it. As long as I get 1,000 views an episode, I'll do it. My bar is lower, but, you know, that's as low as it gets. 1,000 views, it gets that, then it's done. As long as I get paid, that's all I care about. I don't get paid, I get cranky. I have a very New York mentality. I deserve to be paid for what I do. If I put in the time, I deserve the money. That's how I live my life. It's a very New York approach, because I am a New Yorker. Time is money. Ow. Boink. Which animated series do I like better? Between Spider-Man and Superman? Spider-Man. Both Batman the Animated Series and Spider-Man the Animated Series had to do with limitations from censorship. They weren't allowed to throw punches, they weren't allowed to do a lot of stuff. And yet they still made banging stories and, you know, thrilling adventures, even with the limitations that they have. So you have to think of it that way. Like, Batman the Animated Series, even though the show was, like, renowned as amazing, they had a noose around their neck. Like, the censors were always breathing down their neck. Batman couldn't throw a punch. Batman couldn't do this. You can't show this. You can't show, like, kissing. You can't show romance. You can't show breaking glass. You can't do this. You can't do that. So they had to cleverly, with all those limitations, make their Batman story like that. And they pulled it off. What they would do is what's known as cutaways. When Batman would throw a punch towards somebody's face, they would do a cutaway to, like, a shadow on the wall. Or, you know, the guy flying in the opposite direction. Like, instead of showing Batman's fist connect with the guy's face, they would do a cutaway to showing the guy fall back and land into a crate or something. Because they couldn't show certain depictions of violence. Go back and watch the animated series again, and you'll be amazed at all the things that they couldn't show that you see in every anime you watch today. You see people get punched. You see people get stabbed. You see all this other stuff. They had to be very, very clever. They couldn't even show Jim Gordon get shot in the episode I Am the Night. And that was a whole antithesis of the episode. So what they did is Batman went and he, you know, he went and he stopped the guy. And then everybody's congratulating Batman, and Bullock is looking for Jim. And then you see Jim slumped over on the ground. They never showed him get shot, but he got shot.
Can't believe everyone's running scared. Gotham really went soft without
And
Joker.
when you think about that, and you realize the limitations that they had 30 years ago to make that show, it makes the show even more iconic, because when you watch it as a kid, you never notice that. But as an adult, you notice the censorship, but it doesn't take away from the awesomeness of the episode. It'd be nice to see, you know, some more R-rated stuff. But that's what the Arkham games were for. The Arkham games were the R-rated Batman the Animated Series. Basically. But the thing is, even with the censorship, every single episode of Batman the Animated Series is better than most Batman media today. Even with its censorship.
And I killed a bat in 2 seconds.
Think about that for a second. That just shows you, like, how incredible the animated series really, truly was. Even with all its limitations and censorships and things that they were not allowed to do, they still made an incredible product that not only was great in the 90s, but it's still great today. Yep, they had less to work with, and they had restrictions, and it's still better than most Batman media today. They did show romance between Batman and Catwoman. Not the type of romance they wanted to show. They wanted Batman and Catwoman to go to a hotel. One of the very first things that they do in Batman Mask of the Phantasm is they have Batman sleep with Andrea. They show it. And it was very freeing for them. They had, like, Batman purposely knock out guys, like, in the face and stuff like that. The opening to Mask of the Phantasm is every single thing that the animated series animators and, like, creators wanted to do. They have a YouTube channel, not Bruce Timm, but the guys who worked on Mask of the Phantasm in Season 1 of Batman the Animated Series. They go through a developer commentary where they're talking about all the limitations that they were not allowed to do on Fox, and how freeing the animated series, like, movie was that flopped. It failed at the box office. But they were allowed to do so many things they couldn't do. They actually show people die, too, in the movie. Like, they show people get crushed to death. They show people's cars crash into windows. They show sex. They show violence. They show all kinds of stuff. Do I ever count the New Adventures? I count the New Adventures as Season 4. Yep, the animated series of Spider-Man wasn't allowed to show blood, and he wasn't allowed to punch people very much, yeah. Yeah, censorship was a big deal in the 90s, but these shows still found a way of making it work with the amazing storytelling and voice acting. Mm-hmm. Yep. But anyway, guys, I got paid, so I'm done. Thank you guys so much for watching. There will be another Batman stream later tonight. I'm going to get that set up for you, and then I got to go. I'm going to go out to eat with my mom and dad. Why did they never... Yeah, the Phantasm kills a bunch of gangsters. Yep, you see people get crushed, you see blood, you see all kinds of stuff. And then after you watch The Mask of the Phantasm, you go back and you watch Batman the Animated Series, and they're like, huh, how come they didn't show this amount of violence in the show? Because they couldn't. Yeah, that's a movie, though. The Batman Hush movie, them sleeping together and Batman Returns, that's all... Those are all movies. That wasn't the show. Yep. All right, guys. I'm going to set up your... We got another Riddler stream after this later tonight, so I'm going to get that set up. And I'm going to make a cat short on my way out. Okay? Later. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys in like 4 or 5 hours.